is the Eagles head coach. And he's made himself extremely controversial. If anybody knows me, I am not a gloater. I'm not a showboater. That's never been in my DNA. I actually oftentimes get criticized during games. I remember when the Eagles won their first Super Bowl. My friend Josh was like, "Hey, why aren't you acting excited?" And I think like the reason why was because I had so much adrenaline built up. During the Eagles Giants playoff game, my heart rate was 146 beats a minute. How are you going to feel excited after a game? I feel like sometimes I just want to pass out. But it's just not in my DNA. It's just not the kind of person I am. I'm not a showboater. I'm not a trash talker, obviously. I'm too nice. But a lot of people don't like Nick Sirianni. And the reason why they don't like Nick Sirianni is because some of his antics on the sideline. And, I'm not really a fan of it either. I think that he's a young coach. I think he's like 42. He needs to mature. He needs some maturing to do, because what I also saw from this team, it was a lack of focus, especially with the fact that there were players on this team who were giving airtime to two chickens in the background who didn't need airtime, right? Deebo Samuel wanted the Eagles to respond to him because he knew that they would lose focus. Okay? That is not someone you need to give any attention to. Right? He's just not worth it. And the fact that he was doing that says a lot more about him than it has to do with anyone else. Nick Sirianni is such a player's coach that he let them do that without telling them about it, without being like, hey, we have a Super Bowl to prepare for. Stop thinking about the peanut gallery. Okay? He didn't do that. And that shows a huge weakness. The whole like mugging for the camera in the game against the Giants. Yeah, I'm not for that either, but at the end of the day, for a lot of people, if that was their coach, they'd be doing it too. They'd think it's amazing, right? Giants fans and Cowboys fans hate Nick Sirianni, which, I mean, Mike McCarthy argues every single call that happens. Literally every single penalty that happens to the Cowboys, they will pan to Mike McCarthy, and he's just like, oh, that's not fair. Oh, F that. That's not true. And then Giants fans really make me laugh in this circumstance, because I know for a fact that if Nick Sirianni was their coach, they would love him. And here's how I know this. They liked Joe Judge. I'm not going to disparage Joe Judge because I don't know him personally. Joe Judge won like 9 games as a head coach. Never had a winning season at any point in time. I think the most games he's won straight were like 3, maybe 4. They loved him. They thought he was great. I'll never forget the one Giants fan who said, I would rather lose with Joe Judge than win with anybody else. Are you serious, bro? Giants fans went against all common sense because they loved Joe Judge. Brian Daboll, I think, is a great coach. I think that he just lacked talent this year. He was kind of out of his league in the playoffs against the Eagles. They improved from 3 or 4 wins to 9.5 wins. That's amazing. That's good for him. He was a great coach. After they beat Green Bay in London, that dude smoked a cigar in the locker room. Don't tell me about who celebrations, dude. Don't talk about celebrations. You smoked a cigar in the locker room. And you didn't if you were not against that, you should not be against a dude mugging for the camera. That just goes to show me that you don't like him because he coaches the Eagles. If he was your coach, you would think he's amazing. In fact, again, I'll go out and say it, I'm not a huge fan of the antics, right? He reminds me a lot about Jim Harbaugh, who used to do the exact same stuff. Except Jim Harbaugh was super corny. That's what I remember about the guy. Nick Sirianni is kind of a cornball, but you don't like him because he coaches the Eagles. Let's just be quite honest. When the Eagles hired him, you laughed at him because he had a speech impediment. He stuttered. He stammered. You just never liked him from the beginning because he's the Eagles head coach. Let's just be quite honest here.